welcome to this video. We have reached the finale of this month's series of Money Tales, Money Chats, and today's video is about black tax. Like I briefly mentioned at the end of part 3, there was no way I could do a series about Money Tales or Money Chats and not talk about black tax. Okay? So buckle in. Obviously, I've just begun. Like, I'm honestly going to just freestyle. Like, I barely have any notes on this video. I'm just freestyling it and just saying things that will come off of my chest. But let me stop giggling. Like I said, it's supposed to be a serious video. Like, I want to take this seriously because it's quite an important topic. I am Zambian, so if you're new, by the way, did I say welcome to my channel, Chita Diaries? You know what, like those who are watching, like, yeah, like my OGs, hello, welcome back. You guys are used to me. But for those who are new, I'm Zambian. I'm 31, born and raised in this country. If you don't know where Zambia is, it's a beautiful Southern African country. Absolutely beautiful country. But yeah, um, like I said, I'm 31 years old. And when it comes to black tax, you guys, I grew up in, I'd like to say, like it was okay. I come from a working class family, and then later on in life, we moved on up, and my parents got us to, I don't know, like a middle class, at least our version, or like Zambia's version of a middle class family. So that's where we reached. Okay, my parents for the most part, and again from a Zambian perspective, a lot of you will understand what I'm talking about. And a lot of black Africans too will know what I'm talking about. Like in case I have like viewers from other countries. If you come from like a working class type of family or middle class black African family, I can't speak for other races. If your parents happen to be the breadwinners of their family, and if you're my age, someone who was born in the early 90s or 80s or whatever, like I don't know how it went down for people who were born in the 2000s, but I'll speak for myself, somebody who was born in the early 90s. Most of us grew up in homes where if your parents were, I don't know, like the ones who made it, I know in the states they call it making it out of the hood. Like, if your parents are the ones who made it out of the hood, and made a life for themselves where they were somewhat comfortable, they had to pay black tax. They had to, like, there are very few, like I can't think of a single one of my friends who I grew up with where we came from similar backgrounds where their parents were not paying black tax. It was a necessity. Like, we grew up in houses where like we always had family over. Like I always had, I always had extended family living with us in rotation. Like our house was constantly a motel. Like, show of hands, if you know what I'm talking about. And I grew up seeing this, like it was the norm. Like everyone around me, came, like had a similar situation. Like, like we had parents that were helping out, people in like in the rural areas. For us, we call it the village, whatnot. Like it was just the norm. We grew up like that. It was perfectly fine. It was normal. Like it, like it just what it was. Like it was like status quo. But then I got older, early 20s, where now I could understand things better. I could see things around me, and I don't like certain things began to kind of annoy me. And like I will expand further as the video goes on. Certain things began to annoy me, and then I got into my 20s. I started working. I began living on my own. And something I will say as a 31-year-old Zambian who grew up in that background, my generation are not paying black tax the way our parents did. To be fair, even if we wanted to, like we can barely take care of ourselves. Like we can barely take care of ourselves. Like how are we going to have five additional people in addition to our own families that we're starting and raising? Like, how are we going to take care of so many other extra people? Like when we're just trying to make ends meet on our own. Like that whole thing where people always had family living with them, it's kind of died out with our generation. Like if you're my age and you're watching this, like you know what I'm talking about. Like we can't afford. Like even if some of us wanted to, we can't afford to be as hospitable as our parents were when you were growing up. So yeah, I got to my 20s. I started working. I started taking care of myself. Like I was living on my own. And I started seeing things slightly differently. Like I saw what my parents had gone through. Like bless them. And again, like nobody's perfect. I'm sure I don't know. Like somebody will have their own story. Like if you ask somebody else, I'm sure they have their own perspective. But from my perspective, looking at my parents, like they tried. Like God bless them. They tried. They honestly did. They spent a lot of their extra money, whatever they had, not only providing for their immediate family, but a lot of extended family as well, or just people who needed help. Like bless them for that. They still do to this day. But I got to an age where I saw life, I saw things a lot more clearly. I was able to understand them, and I chose. I shouldn't laugh. I chose to become a villain. I chose the villain route. Okay. And I will explain myself. Okay. It wasn't an overnight decision where I just woke up and said, I'm going to become a villain. Like, so many things triggered that decision. I won't get, like, I won't give, like, exact examples, but there are just so many times where, again, like, my parents were the blueprint for me. Like, they're the people who I saw help so many other people. And yeah, I chose like to other people. Like for me, I decided to have boundaries for myself, but I wear that badge. I'm a villain. I have a sister who says I'm a good person, not a nice one. She's actually very generous, but she's just like, I have decided, not even I have decided, that I acknowledge that I am a good person, not a nice one, because people will walk all over you. People will walk all over you when it comes to black tax. And like I said, bless my parents. Like they really tried. They really tried. They're very, very hospitable. In fact, a lot of our, like if you're watching this, you're talking about, a lot of our parents really, really tried. And it's not even that they wanted help back. Like they were not giving, so somebody could give back to them. And I feel like a lot of us can understand what I'm saying. It's not that they were helping people out so that they could be helped one day. Like they weren't giving to receive. They weren't keeping score. A lot of the time they helped out of the good of their hearts. They were just like, let me do something to better somebody else's life. And then now that they're senior citizens, okay, like approaching my dad is a full blown senior citizen now. My mom's kind of younger, so she's approaching senior citizenship. But I went from, being my early 20s, like I began to see this shift. I began to see what people's true colors were. Again, it's not even that you want somebody to repay you for what you did. Just the fact that somebody was nice, like just some common courtesy, like just some common decency, you guys, is what a lot of people who my parents helped lacked. Okay, they lacked that. There were so many times, especially later on, where it's like, fam, we don't even want you to come and help out financially, like even just caring. Like no, like let me not try and tell my parents business, but I can give an example. I think this one is a fair enough example to give, where my dad had like a major like health crisis at some point in the mid 20, like no, actually late 2010s. Like if somebody again, but I don't know if this is making sense. Someone who is just kind-hearted, who is just a good person, would be alarmed and be like, "Oh my gosh, like how is he feeling?" Like just care. Just care. Like we could count the number of people who even bothered. Even in the midst of that health crisis, people were still asking for money. People were still calling to ask for help. like where you explain this is what somebody is going through right now, like like they're, yeah, like they're home, they're on bed or something, but people are just like, oh no, but I like I have a problem, like zero shame, zero shame with asking for money. Visits, like even just people who just came to visit to just see how he was doing, there were very few. Like that was such an eye opener for me. And to this day I have beef with a lot of my relatives, and I can say it. Okay, let me calm down. Like if my mom watches this, like she'll call me immediately and be like, Don't be provoking people you don't want to provoke, in the name of Jesus." But yeah, but I'm just saying it taught me a lot. And there's so many other examples where, in fact, even my mom who looks at me and like is honestly okay, but to be fair, like sometimes I do feel bad because I feel like I'm embarrassing her in the family circles where, like, I'm sure she goes for family meetings, it is what my people ask about me, like like I'm never there. I'm never I'm never involved. I stay far away. I mind my own business. And again, this is with like extended family. And again, like I will elaborate on that later on. But even for her, like they've been like I have beef with one situation. There's one scenario where like she's always present for people. Every event that they extended, whatnot, everybody. She's there for everything. I remember there was like just one event where she wasn't able to like contribute financially. She's like, you know what? I'm not able to, after decades of being there for being there for my relatives. I was about to say, these people, but being there for my relatives after decades and decades of being there for my relatives. The one time she was like, "Can I be excused from this?" But I'll, like I'm still present. She was not invited for that wedding. After decades of helping out, and even those decades of helping out, like she'd always be amongst like the most generous type of scenario. I remember like it was just a one time situation where she ended up seeing that wedding on Facebook, and she was like, "How far?" Like, so. Anyways, just these small examples of where I got to a point where I was seeing a lot of energy of entitlement of just people who don't deserve my time or effort. Again, it's not everybody. I don't want like my relatives to watch this and be like, "Oh my gosh, she really is the villain. She's a horrible person. She's stingy. She's whatnot." I will get into that later. I'm not saying it's all of them. Like I am like Gucci with a lot of my family or extended family. Like I like them. I have a good time with them. But for the most part, I have chosen to be a villain, you guys, because I have seen what people are capable of. Like it's just not a nice feeling when you know that you're being used. And I am not somebody who wants to be used. I refuse. And like I said, like where you can tell that here you're just being used. I remember this, like I know I've told this story to people in real life where when I started work, like people who did, and this is the thing, you guys, like we don't even want you to give us money, like we don't expect too much from you, but just care about me. Like, do you even care about my well-being? Do you know who I am? I remember I had a cousin who just knew of my existence because I come from like a very, very big family. I remember someone visiting because I have like older, like much like older siblings who are like significantly older than me. And there's like me and like my younger siblings were like batch two. I call us batch two. But yes, so like of course the people who are always coming around to get contributions and what like they know my older siblings. And then somebody caught wind. This is me when in my mid 20s. Oh, Chita is working. Chita has found a job. I remember like my cousin, I don't like her eyes like getting all bright. I'm like, oh my, and she didn't even know my name. Like that's how wild it was. You didn't even know my name. Like I remember her calling me Chilofia. And she's like, "Hi, Chilofia. Oh, you're working for so so." That's like I could see the wheels in her head turning, and how like she needs to find out where I live. She needs to come and visit. Like she needs to, I don't know, like clench her claws into my personal life so she can benefit in from me in some way. Like somebody who didn't even know what my, like it's like where somebody visits, you're just dismissed, and they find out, oh, this child now works and has a job, has an income. All of a sudden they're interested in who you are. Like it's like it's quite hurtful. It honestly is quite hurtful. So that's why, that's one of the reasons I chose to be a villain. And again, like when it comes to black tax, you guys, it's so mad how again, like I don't know how our parents did it, because that's also something that I came to acknowledge and realize. Like sometimes, like you hear like our elders talk about how, and like our generation loves to flex. Like if there's one thing that we're going to do, we're going to flex. We love to flex. But then there are some people where it's like, and I know like again, like some of my others are like, please mind what you post online. You guys are always telling people what you have, blah 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 blah. I understand why they don't want you to show everything, because there's that category of a taker or a leech that likes to count other people's money. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You could be sat, maybe you've had a tough month, nobody knows what you've gone through. You just post a picture of yourself at a nice place, eating a nice meal, and some person, and sometimes it's not even just family, it could even be friends, it could even be acquaintances. Somebody will see you seated. Like, first of all, if it's people who even go on holiday, like how dare you go on holiday? Okay. How dare you go on holiday? Somebody will count your money for a job or a business where you're the only, like my late aunt would always say, they act like they were waking up with you at 5 a.m. in the morning to go to work. They act like they were with you at your desk, sleeping away the whole day. They act like they were there through all of it when they're feeling entitled to your money. Like you're the only one who's doing that by yourself, but somebody will see you. Not that they even needed something desperately, but some people just, I don't know, like they just itch when they see somebody else seemingly doing fine. They're like, this person has money, this person has money, and they can't be spending this money on themselves. They need to share it with me. Like the entitlement just comes out of nowhere. Like those people where like you can't even, and like I said, like I understand why sometimes our elders are like, they don't understand why our generation is forever flexing online, because people will just see your life and be like, hey, next thing it's DMs. Hello, how are you? Know when you have time, I wanted to have a chat. And there's those people who just start messages with, yeah, my last hope. Let me tell you guys, like 9 out of 10 times, not even 9 out of 10, 19 out of 20 times, you are not their last hope. Me, I've seen some, like I've seen some people in action. You're not their last hope. People will have a whole list of people who they want to ask, but like they just, it's like they're trying their luck. You know what I mean? They're trying their luck, and even the thing that they want, even the thing that they want, is not that important. It's just that they think you have money and they need, and you need to share that money with them. And then it's people who would never be that generous to others. And like I'll touch on something else briefly. Like I'll give one more example because I remember laughing about this with one of my friends. Again, like she watches my videos and she know that I'm talking about her. But she mentioned or just pointed out the fact that we all know like a relative or a friend, mostly relatives, who love to get interest-free loans for capital to start a business. These are people who don't even know what interest is. They don't even know what it's like to get a loan to start a business and pay back, interest for it. They can afford to fail because they are literally asking for charity, saying, help me out so I can start something. And then there are some people where you help them and they will actually do great things with that, just that with that startup capital. Like they're, like I'm not saying it's everybody. There's some who genuinely have a plan and it works out. But then there are those who just are used to taking, like they're used to charity. They don't mind failing on your hard-earned money, because there'll always be somebody who they can ask and call saying, I need money for capital. And they can afford to fail because it's not even money that they worked for. Okay. That capital is not money that they worked for. They're not paying interest. Like if it fails, it fails. Like it is what it is. Like there's no accountability for what they're doing. So I did have a lot of these frustrations. And then it also got to a point where I would honestly get irritated sometimes where people don't understand, what it's like. Like sometimes even the people who do one, like you post a good day, like you post a high, like they don't know what you've gone through for you to even get to that point to be to treat yourself or to treat your kids, to do something else, to do something for yourself. Like they don't know what you've gone through to get to that point, and then they just feel entitled to that. And then some people ask for things that even you are struggling to get. Again, like like my late aunt used to crack us up. But I remember her telling me about how like another aunt from the village like called her up like one random day, and she was asking for a stroller for her babies. But it was just an example where like she asked my aunt if she could buy her like a stroller. I remember us laughing, and my aunt was just like, where she was just like, how much money do they think I make? Where I can just be like, I can just walk into a shop out of nowhere, like I just have money lying around to buy a stroller that's that expensive. We're so for like the rural area, like where are you going to be rolling your kids around with that stroller? But it's like there's just this skewed perception of what it is they think that we have or what we own. Where again, like I know I sound very villainous, and people are just like, this is so out of touch. Like you're a bad person. It is what it is. Like I'm like bear with me. I will make a point. I don't know, like we're heading somewhere, but I just needed to give this background. I need to give this backstory. Okay. And I'll give one more example before I move on from what I wanted to get off of my chest. Something else that I also saw. There'll be times where you would open up even your home. You could open up your home. You could open up your space, even just trying to help somebody. Okay, like I'm laughing because this is something that my sisters and I like know and even laugh about, like because like we'd sit with our parents, we'd sit with other family members where you think you're doing a good thing by inviting people into your home, you invite them, you host them. Some people would just come and look at your life and be like, this is how these people live. How dare they? And be mad and vindictive and just bring a lot of negative. Like, you don't even, like, you think you're doing a good thing by opening up your home to somebody, opening up your space, doing something nice for somebody. Like, sometimes you can't be too nice because people will just think you have money and then they'll begin to take advantage of you. And the reason why I laugh because I had this like the first thing that came to mind again, like people are going to look at me like I'm such a terrible person, but there's a reason why sometimes we do the things that we do. I remember we had like I think it was a cousin who was visiting my parents' place, and she had a small baby, and she asked if we could just help out, like she asked if we could get her some diapers for the baby, but then she gave us like a small amount of money because you can okay for those are, who at who are in a certain tax bracket, just in case you didn't know, um you can actually buy diapers as individuals. Like some people can't afford to buy a whole pack of diapers, so you can buy singles. So she gave us like just enough money to buy, I know it was like two or three, just to like because like some people really do live hand to mouth, like it's a real thing. So obviously, like we took the money, cause like yeah, like we we'll buy the diapers, no problem. Like on our way back, we bring the diapers over. But of course, like in that moment, like it was kind of sad because we realized that, you know what, like our cousin can't afford to buy a whole packet of diapers. So we did buy a whole packet of diapers, but we didn't buy. Even though we could have afforded a higher brand, we recognized in that moment that even just that gesture of buying a whole pack was good enough. Well, like if was somebody else would have gotten like a brand that is like really really good, and they're like, but we realized in that moment that if we did that, we'll be opening ourselves up to problems. And again, somebody knows what I'm talking about here. The rest would be like, you're a horrible evil person. Why couldn't you have just done a good thing? Somebody knows what I'm talking about. If we had gone and gotten like like a really really good brand, the gesture would have turned into something else. It would have turned into, oh, like these girls actually have a lot of money. Like, let me start milking them for something else. There was potential for that to happen. So we got a whole pack. We said, here you go. Like, no problem. Of course, she was very grateful and thank. Like when even doing it for a big show, we just like we genuinely do like we genuinely did feel bad in that moment. Like, you know what, we can do something about it. Let's just get a whole bag of diapers. But like the brand matters. It can't be that one. It can't be that one. And again, that's why I'm saying the whole black tax, because black tax encompasses a lot of things. It's not just giving money. You could be opening up your home. It could be doing so many things, so many material things to help somebody out who is in need. But there's that aspect as well of where I have seen things backfire. Where if you're too nice, again, like one of my sisters said, I'm a good person, not a nice one. Some things just work against you, and it's just upsetting when you feel used and like, okay. And let me take a break before my phone overheats or whatnot, and then I'll come back and continue. Yes, so this is a money chats, money tales video, and I was like, we can't talk about black tax. Sorry, we can't. I can't talk about money if I don't talk about black tax. For a lot of people, even as you are budgeting, even as you are, thinking of what you're going to spend on your income and the like, a good number of us who come from black communities with the background that I've given are paying some sort of black tax. Now, this is what I want to say, because I have, again, like I said, my amazing parents have lived their entire lives trying to build a life for their kids that, was worthwhile for us, which I am so grateful for. I am. And they also tried to help others. Okay. Now, honestly, like you've even joked about this, saying if they had been selfish, if they had chosen to be a villain like me, I feel like they could have done so much more. But it's okay. It's okay. They have earned points in heaven, like all of that. And I know they did it out of the goodness of their hearts. But I'm just saying, from our generation's perspective, if you're somebody who is also trying to budget, if you're somebody who's trying to manage your money, okay. And I know I'm saying this from the point of view of a villain, but I also feel like this is somewhat useful information. Guys, be generous. Like, if that is the type of person that you are, like, I'm not telling anybody not to be generous. Like, if you want to be that person who is generous, please do it. Like, I applaud you. The world needs nice people, kind people like you. Okay, things need to be balanced out. The world needs people like you. God bless all of you. May you be blessed even more. May, I don't know, like, blessings follow you, and all of that. Like may you be protected at all costs. Like, you guys are wonderful people. But I honestly just want to give, just this tip, like this advice, that in as much as you would like to give, and again, like, for my, actually, one of my sisters said this recently, and I also have a friend who's always saying this: if you're a giver, again, like my friend who's watching this, like, I'm literally quoting you. If you are a giver, you need to have boundaries, because takers have none. They have no boundaries. And they could literally be your downfall if you don't establish boundaries for yourself. Be generous in the same way that you are saving towards your future, that you are saving for a project, that you are saving for anything. Also, just have a certain amount where, like, this is how much I can spend to help people out. Like, this is my limit. If I go beyond this, it will not be sustainable. Like, acknowledge and identify what is sustainable for you as you are being generous. Okay. And even question sometimes, like, if it's not a matter of life and death, like if someone's life is not depending on what they're asking for, it's not everything that you need to help out on. Like, have a limit. I know there's so many, like, family events, like if you're Zambian, like, there's always weddings, and weddings isn't just the wedding. It's the chilangamulo, it's the kitchen party, it's the wedding itself, funerals. For me, okay, when it comes to funerals, there I'm just like, yeah, like, there, like, a funeral is, is an unexpected event. It's very, very sad. Like, there, yes, like, contribute what, like what you can. Like, there I'm just like, yeah, like I'll always give something, like, even just the little, like the littlest amount, you know what I mean, counts for something. Like, I'm not even going to talk about funerals, but things like a wedding, like, that's planned. That's the most planned thing ever. Okay. And if you don't have the money for that, like if you're somebody where I'll just, like, for black tax, all I have is 500 kwacha per month, let it be 500 kwacha per month. If you go beyond that, Like, don't feel, but like if somebody missed their chance, okay, if it was the first come first serve that month, and somebody showed up, asked for money, and you helped somebody out with your limit of 500 kwacha, the next person who comes, like, you just don't have. I know some people feel really really bad, and because they've, had very very poor boundaries in the past, people will think you're being mean or you're being stingy, and like that's something else. Like I said, like I gave that example of how that, like the one time my mom didn't help out, the way people like to this day, beef one side, like I have beef over that situation, people will get upset, but they will not, like, it's not a life or death situation, like especially if it isn't a life, it's just somebody asking for help in that moment, like their life does not depend on it. They'll be fine, they'll live. Have some boundaries for yourself. Yes, basically. That's what that whole point was. Have some boundaries for yourself. It could be just setting up an amount and saying first come first serve. Whoever comes, like if I go beyond this, let me also train myself to just say no, I don't have. For your own peace of mind, for your own financial well-being, have boundaries. Okay. And then even sometimes, you guys, like the things that people ask for, again, like I gave that example of an auntie who wanted a stroller. Like a stroller is not a necessity. Like if it's something that even you can't afford yourself, like if somebody wants to gaslight you or make you feel like, how come you bought a car, how come you built a house, like that's your money. You're the one working hard for it. Like that's something that you're doing for yourself. Their time will come. Like if at all that is something, like if it's something that they want, let them work towards it. And I also like dealing with people who are modest in their ask. You know what I mean? Like if someone sees you having something nice and they want the exact same thing, like to me, that like that's low key madness. It's low key, like you can't afford it. Like you're nowhere near it. Somebody is working hard for it, and you're like, I want that exact same thing. Buy it for me. Give it to me. I'm entitled to it. Like that's mad to me. It's mad. Even with that, but again, like I said, for me, I'm a villain. Okay, but in this quest of establishing boundaries, like sometimes you have to sit and wonder, like, is this something that's even, like, is it that serious? And if somebody starts to gaslight you or make you feel bad about certain situations, no, but how come you have all this money? Like that's your money. I know, like I'm repeating myself, but that's your money. I'm going to say it again just so I can really, like that's your money, and stop feeling certain guilt. Because for me, like trust me, like I have seen it, like the same people who you're feeling sorry for, like they will drop you like a hot potato the second you can't, like if you come to a situation where like you generally actually don't have money, if they just sense that, I don't know, like like maybe you've lost your job, or you don't have your business anymore, the same people who you're feeling sorry for, like they'll literally move on to the next relative or the next person to help them out. Like they, they will not even check on you. In fact, some will even laugh at you saying, oh, this is the person who, like the same people you were helping will laugh. Like if anything happened to you, they'll be the same ones laughing at you saying, oh, like look at this person, and this is what they are now. So sometimes, like, prioritize yourself and have boundaries. Okay. That's what I wanted to say. Now, even though I said I'm a villain and whatnot, don't worry, I'm wrapping up this video. I have come to learn, okay? And my mom, again, like my mom has been very, very candid with me. She's told me over the years, she has put some things into perspective for me. So I can't just sit here and end this video talking about how black tax is like the worst thing. Okay, I'm not going to say it's the worst thing, but obviously I've had very, very negative, energy. And everything that I've said has been negative. But I did carry a lot of this um annoyance with me all along. But my mom very, very aptly put some things into perspective, which I truly, truly appreciate. And that's what I'm going to close this video with. That in as much as I, am a villain, she did break it down for me and was like, you can choose to be a villain right now, but trust and believe that it took somebody being nice in the past, like whatever you have right now as a black person on this earth, okay, on this earth, Somebody worked hard, somebody did something so you could be in the place that you are. And I know I've said this, if you're not like a newbie here, like I've said this so many times, I don't come from money. My parents worked really, really hard to give us the life that we had. I'm super grateful for my life. Like I'm never, like now that I'm older and I look back and I see how things like I know they worked really hard. We may not have had the most luxurious of lives, but we were okay, and I'm so grateful for that. Okay, they tried, they tried, and even them just getting to that point, as my mom aptly put it, like you can sit there with all the audacity and say this and that, whatnot. If it wasn't for somebody being kind to your dad, if it wasn't for somebody being kind to me at some point, giving me a chance, like doing certain things to help aid us, either aid your dad or aid me to get to a place where we had better opportunities, like you wouldn't even be where you are right now. You would not be where you are right now. Like, and never forget that. And she's always to be like, never forget that. Never forget that. Like anyone who has made it or is smiling and the like, a good number of us, it's because somebody worked hard and helped somebody else along the way. Like they paid that black tax to better somebody else's life so that like that person. And by the way, it's not everybody. Sometimes you might help a whole bunch of people and only one of them makes, something out of their life. And again, like I saw it, like I've seen a lot of people who my parents have helped over the years, and very few have, like really utilized the opportunity and made a life, like a good life for themselves. Like a lot of them just squandered it, and now even their children and their children's children are okay, I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny, but it's like where, like, they ended up not doing much, they squandered that, and they're the ones now just passing on, you know those manners of being takers. It's like where, like someone tried with you, but now you just want to pass on those manners to the next person. Now even their kids, some of them might break the cycle and do something to their lives. Some of them won't. Some of them are already now, doing the same to the new generation of people who they think they can take from. You know what I mean? But point is, sorry, I was rambling. The point I wanted to make is, for a lot of people, myself included, as I mentioned before, I would not be where I am today if somebody hadn't helped, you know, my dad, if somebody hadn't helped my mom and put them in a position where, whether it was school, whether it was a job, whether it was just accommodating them for a time where they were, trying to get to the next stage in life where they could, be in a position to do better. Somebody helped them out. Somebody paid black tax for me to even be sitting here and making this YouTube video. It's because somebody did something that created this like this trickle effect to better somebody, like somebody's whole lineage, and that's all it takes sometimes. So I know I'm a villain, but I do. Okay, I'm a villain towards adults. Like fully grown adults, there I'm a full blown villain. But for me, like I'm like, when it comes to kids, like I'm not even going to bring them into this. Like I'm not talking about kids. They're kids who come from situations where, if you have it within your power to help out, like a child is innocent. Okay, some kids have really, really irresponsible parents. Some people, some kids maybe just are coming from abusive homes. Some kids maybe just don't have, like, yeah, like I don't want to get too deep, but you know what I mean. When it comes to kids, then I'm just like, if you are able to, please, like that's not something I'm ever going to talk down. If you're able to help an innocent child out of a bad situation, do it. Do it wholeheartedly. For me, it comes to full blown adults. It's adults where I'm just like, no, adults need to be serious. They need to be a bit serious. But yeah, I think this wraps up this series on Money Tales. Like I'm actually tired. Like if you're new, if you haven't, like, notification gang, like you guys know that I've been filming 3 videos in a row today on a work night. I'm actually really tired. But yes, that marks the end of this series. I really hope you enjoyed this, manager. My cat's fur is everywhere. Like sorry that you're seeing stuff. And she's even looked at me after I've mentioned her. Yes, I'm talking about you. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this series. Next month is September. First of all, like I'm filming this on the 8th, and I'm acting like but yeah, but you're going to see this video end of August. But next month is September. I'm doing a whole new series. A whole new series. We won't be talking about money, we'll be talking about something else. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have I left anything out with regards to black tax? No. Where money is involved, if you're generous, continue to be generous, but establish some boundaries for your own financial um health. Yeah, literally your own financial health. And yeah, I think that's like the main takeaway from this video. Sorry I rambled and went all on and on and on, but I do acknowledge the fact that yes, sorry. That's what I wanted to say. Like I'm sorry, like I'm really tired. I think it's midnight now and I have work tomorrow. I'm so sorry. Whew, let me like wake myself up a bit. The last point that I wanted to make was okay, like my brain has foresight, but I will finish this video. And this is a very, very serious point. I wanted to say that I acknowledge what my mom said, in that there's immense power in helping somebody out. You could literally change somebody's life and put them in a position where they can create better lives for themselves and their children, and just create a whole lineage where people are in a better position to take care of themselves, as opposed to if they had no help at all. Because a lot of the time there's systems working, like I don't want to sound like those annoying woke people, but it's just the truth. There's so many systems that are working against a lot of people. It could be class, it could be race, you name it, and you need help. Sometimes it's not just hard work that will get you to the next stage. Like all you need is somebody who is in a better position to help you out. There are those people who genuinely need the help. And if you're in a position to help, like I said, if you have the capacity to, and you're willing, if you're a generous person, I'm not going to discourage you from that. If you're a villain like me, be a villain, understand where you're coming from, but in the back of your mind, also just acknowledge the fact that you're doing it for the better of the, like you're making the world a better place by giving somebody a chance. Like sometimes you really ask somebody's last hope. I know I joked about it in the video where I was just like, you're not that person's last hope. It's people who are asking for ridiculous things. And you know what I'm talking about. It's people, the people who are just takers, always asking for money, always want help for, and the people who don't want to help themselves. I'm not talking about those people. I do want to highlight the fact that there are people who are genuinely in need. It could be, and I know like nowadays people are like a degrees and anything, but for some people, getting a degree is like the world. Okay, like it will set them apart. It will break a generational curse or bondage, whatever it is. It will take them to the next level. It could be helping them out to start a business. Like literally, you're the only person who, like there are some people who genuinely have that capacity. Like they're willing. Like they actually want to better themselves. I'm not talking about like the lazy. As about to say something rude. As about to call people bums, but you know what I mean. I know I ranted and raved about people who are just takers and leeches. There, I still stand by what I said. But like my mom told me, some people genuinely need help, and if you can do it, because if you, especially if you're in a position like I am, like I live a relatively comfortable life. I don't need to ask anybody, but it's because somebody did that for me. And I'm also coming from a two-parent household, and that's something else that my mom mentioned to me. She was like, you can sit there on your high horse and the like, but remember that you are very, my stomach grumbling, you are very fortunate enough that your father and I, managed to get you to this point in your life where we were around. And that in itself is a blessing. And when I heard that, I 100% agreed. Things, could have gone left earlier on in life. And some, like, would have taken a good Samaritan, taking me in and all of that. So I do acknowledge that, I shouldn't be too much of a villain. And I need to be very, very humble and Like just acknowledge what my mom said, and I do acknowledge what she did, and I respect that, and I truly believe it. Where if I'm able to change a life within my means, I should. And I remember that I didn't touch on one thing because we're talking about money. I ended up doing a whole bunch of ridiculous story times. One thing that I want to say before we close off, one thing that I would strongly advise against, and this also borders like I'm trying to find the words where like I don't want to offend anybody, but something I would advise against you guys is getting into debt to help people. Like to be like if you want to be generous and you want to help, getting into debt for somebody else is a very 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 tricky thing. Like if it's debt that you can pay back, like if it's something where like again life or death situation or something really really major where like you really want to help out, fine, go ahead. But if you start dealing with people who especially when you say you don't have and they're like borrow on my behalf, you guys, like that's such a huge red flag. And if you're watching this, fam, start establishing some boundaries with individuals like that. Start establishing some boundaries. Like that's also a very dangerous thing to be in or to deal with where, somebody is like, get into debt for me. Like that's a dangerous situation to be in where money is concerned. I know there's one thing about money, but yes, sometimes you just feel like, yeah, like if you start heading into territory where somebody wants you to get into debt for them, girl or guy, I would not advise that you proceed with that sort of energy because once you set that precedent, it's like, that will always be expected of you. So, yeah. Okay, guys, like I need sleep. First of all, I need to wash off this makeup and I need sleep. But thank you for watching this very long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I don't know, we got to share. I know it was all over the place. Next time, I'll honestly plan my filming better. And yeah, I will see you in September with a whole new series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.